maritime domain. There are many other areas under political security as well, from counterterrorism or cybersecurity, and transnational crime. I look forward to continue to work with the UK under the plan of action. The third broad area, which is control, cooperation, education, and people-to-people exchange. Education is certainly the strength of the UK, and very happy to work with the UK and with all ASEAN member states in promoting university and educational cooperation and in the areas of training, capacity building, as well as in terms of vocational training as outlined by our Cambodian colleagues. Tourism, sports, there's a whole range of areas where we feel the UK will be able to make a huge difference to the development of sports in ASEAN, and we look forward to being to contribute in this area. Climate change and disaster management, yes, certainly we will continue to work on this. So these are the broad outlines of what we plan to do and some of the focuses that we will do over the next few years. But certainly the mechanism and the focus on resources will be given in a high priority. And the list is not exhaustive, and I would very much appreciate a suggestion from member states and so the UK, so that we can carry forward the partnership. And I'm sure that over the next 3 years, with all these tangible benefits, we'll see the UK partnership, ASEAN-UK partnership, elevated to the higher ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. May I open the floor to other ASEAN colleagues now? Excellency, if I may add a few words on this agenda. As ASEAN newest dialogue partner, there's much potential for ASEAN-UK dialogue partnership to grow. In the 3 years since we have established dialogue relation, we have witnessed good progress in our cooperation, and in keeping with this momentum, we should continue our efforts to strengthen our existing work together, as well as explore new areas of mutually beneficial cooperation. For Brunei, we hope to have more exchanges between our people, including through training, capacity building program, as well as educational exchanges. On this, we encourage the UK to explore the possibility of opening up internship or on-the-job opportunities to ASEAN member states, either in British company based in the UK or in the region. We also welcome the many project proposals by the UK to further advance our relation, and would encourage more programs that all ASEAN member states could benefit from equally. Thank you. I give the floor to you for your response for this agenda. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair, and thanks to the representative of Vietnam for his very long list. And let me say, first of all, I'm delighted it was a long list, because I think that's a testament to what we've built already between ASEAN and the UK in 3 short years. And it also allows me to restate our commitment to working in all of those areas and more, as Ambassador said, it's a non-exhaustive list, over the next few years, building up to our next plan of action, which will be launched in 2026 under the Philippines chairmanship. And I think there has been so much done already that plan of action can really respond to many of the points that were made. The sun is still just about shining, so I shall say the sun is shining on the UK-ASEAN relationship, and long may it do so. With your permission, Co-Chair, let me once again reiterate my thanks to Brunei Darussalam for your work as our country coordinator over the last 3 years. I know this is the 4th time I've said it, but it cannot be said often enough how much we appreciate the wise advice and counsel that you have given us over those years, and I think that's been instrumental in getting us all to the position we are in. So thank you very much indeed. But let me also say that we are equally confident that we will build the same highly productive and friendly relationship with Vietnam as our next country coordinator. We very much look forward to working with you, alongside you, as well as with all colleagues as we take forward that important work and continue that very positive trajectory, which I think we all agree the UK-ASEAN relationship is currently on. I think as part of that, we very much welcome the work that Vietnam is doing towards the ASEAN Future Forum. So I think that forward-looking approach is something we very much welcome, and we'd be keen to support and be involved in any work that seems helpful in that process of developing the ASEAN community vision for the next period. In terms of the key issues, I think the sort of three thrusts, Ambassador Finn, which you set out, I think are very well shared. I've touched on a lot of them. I think there is a lot we can do together. We very much welcome the idea of sustaining the close political dialogue, making sure that our political vision flows through to resources delivered for implementation, and in that context very much welcome the suggestion of a smooth process with the accreditation of the programme, so that we can just get on and deliver to the benefit of all of our citizens. And I like the idea of connectivity of policy in that context. I think the political dialogue can be an extremely important part of ensuring that the policy environment in all of the areas of cooperation is conducive to the outcomes we want to see. Let me reiterate what I said earlier on the importance we attach to the IAI, not least as a way in which we can engage and support the development of the Mekong sub-region, which I think is also an important part of the work that we do. And I won't repeat what I said on some of the other issues around CT, cyber, transnational crime, but I agree that the threat side remains important. And in terms of the cultural cooperation, again, I've spoken to that, but it's well noted, particularly on tourism, which we haven't touched on, where I think there is scope to do more in both directions and to understand tourism promotion policies and so on. Thank you, Co-Chair, also for your words and that emphasis on strengthening existing cooperation and finding more ways of promoting exchanges between our governments, of course, but between our people, including through work. I think is very interesting one. I think it links to the point on Tibet, which was mentioned earlier, and that does feel like an area where there is perhaps more that we can do. I hope that today and the conversations that we've had have both reassured you of the UK's long-term commitment to this relationship and to the region, and also highlighted some of the significant steps which we are planning to take over the next few months and years. I would highlight a few of the things that I mentioned earlier, just as what I think are the significant moments which we will see in the UK-ASEAN relationship this year. I think the launch of our two remaining flagship programmes will be a great addition and will complete that set under the plan of action, which we all agreed was sort of a comprehensive way of addressing the challenges that we face, and those on health and climate change, I think, are both fundamental to the work that we've discussed so far. I'm very much looking forward to the announcement and launch of our ASEAN Chevening Scholarship Programme as a way both of reinforcing the importance of ASEAN as well as its member states to our collaboration. And I hope that will also help address the point that has been made about ensuring that our programmes and our work benefits all member states of ASEAN, and we are certainly committed to that. I'm delighted, as I said, that we will be starting and exploring cooperation on a potential air services agreement, which I think would be a very concrete way of reinforcing connectivity. And I'd also highlight the support that we're providing to the priority economic deliverables of the NAP's chairmanship this year as what I think will be key moments. And in all of that, I think raising the visibility of our partnership, as a number of speakers have mentioned, will be important, and our statement on the connectivity will be part of that. And again, my thanks for the supportive words on that. But there may well be more that we can do, both this year and as we look forward to Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship next year, and then the launch of our next plan of action under the Philippines chair the year after. In closing, in this forward-look part of our discussion, let me re-emphasise that we are here for the long run, that this is a relationship which we know will build over time. A lot of the things that we're working on, whether that's education, whether that's climate change and green transition, whether it's infrastructure investment, these are issues which will build in importance and build in effectiveness as we work together over a period of years. So our ASEAN Dialogue partnership is and will remain a permanent and significant feature of the UK's foreign policy. We value and support ASEAN's central role in the wider regional security architecture, which is why I've highlighted in the previous intervention our desire to play a role in other parts of that ASEAN-led structure, such as the ARF and the ADMM+. Many of you, I think, will have met and discussed these ideas with our Minister for the Asia Pacific, Mrs. Anne-Marie Trevelyan. And she talks frequently and very enthusiastically about what she calls the boundless opportunities of the ASEAN-UK dialogue and partnership. That's certainly a phrase which rings true to me. We want to take as many of those opportunities as we can, and I hope you share a similar view. We look forward to working together on all of those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you also for your kind words to Brunei, and also your firm commitment to continue working with ASEAN and your support to ASEAN centrality as well. We look forward to continue working with Vietnam and also other ASEAN member states and the UK towards further strengthening the ASEAN-UK relation. Now we are moving to agenda item 6, exchange of views on regional and international issues, and I invite Pak Cherry to lead this agenda item. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. First, I would like to welcome His Excellency Owen Jenkins as the new UK SOM leader. Your experience in the region and with ASEAN will be useful in enhancing cooperation with ASEAN. Since this is the first time I'm taking the floor, I would like to thank you and your team for the warm welcome extended to the Indonesian delegation, and thank you for the wonderful dinner last night. I also would like to thank Brunei Darussalam, Ibu Jo, and her team for coordinating today's meeting. Excellencies, colleagues, taking this opportunity, allow me to first add to the previous agenda on review of ASEAN-UK cooperation. Indonesia appreciates that most of the action lines under the current ASEAN-UK POA have been followed up. This shows commitment by ASEAN and UK to further deepen its partnership. I understand that currently there are 5 ASEAN-UK proposals being considered, mainly on girls' education, green transition, health security, economic integration, and women peace and security. Indonesia views that these are good proposals and their finalization as a matter of priority. Understanding that there is a time limit to implement the programs under the UK's budget cycle, I would like to seek advice from the ASEAN Secretariat on how to move forward with the proposals. Subsequently, UK might also consider alternative and innovative sources of funding for future programs and activities to implement the ASEAN-UK POA. Excellencies, colleagues, due to its strategic location and its role as one of the global engines of economic growth, ASEAN unity and centrality will benefit the world. ASEAN and its ASEAN mechanism, including the AOIP, ensures that cooperation in Southeast Asia remains open and inclusive. ASEAN believes that multilateralism is the only viable solution to the current multidimensional challenges. However, conflicts and hotspots in many parts of the world, including in Asia, are of great concern for ASEAN. In the long run, they will create instability in the region. The economic impacts will make economic recovery more difficult. On South China Sea, Indonesia believes that the 1982 UNCLOS should govern conduct and is the only basis for maritime claims and peaceful settlements of disputes. As a maritime country, Indonesia emphasizes the importance of maritime stability in Southeast Asia waters, as well as waters important for logistic routes. Any escalation of tensions will affect Indonesia as well as countries in Southeast Asia. Therefore, through a ministerial statement last year, ASEAN reaffirms our shared commitment to maintaining and strengthening stability in our maritime sphere to bring about overall peace, security, stability, and prosperity in our region. Based on this, Indonesia will continue to promote the ratification of the protocol to the SONFES Treaty by all nuclear weapon states, and committed to strengthen ASEAN platforms for dialogue such as the ASEAN Regional Forum. Looking at the future of ASEAN-UK maritime cooperation, I would like to focus more on this point. Indonesia also follows closely the development of new technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, and its impact to the maritime domain, not only in the safety and security fields, but also in its application for environmental protection, climate change mitigation, and sustainable economy. I believe that ASEAN and UK can explore cooperation in this area further. Now, allow me to turn to international issues. In Gaza, the continued attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructures, including restricted access to food, water, and other basic needs, has created humanitarian crisis. Rapid, safe, unimpeded, and sustainable humanitarian access to all those in need must be ensured, including by sea. Indonesia supports the UNRWA in the execution of its mandate. In this regard, Indonesia urges the resumption of funding towards UNRWA. Reiterating my foreign ministers in her statement in Brussels recently, depriving financial support to UNRWA would only amount to another collective punishment for Palestinians. International law, particularly international humanitarian law and international human rights law, must be upheld. The order on provisional measures issued by ICJ must be respected by the parties. All parties must work towards immediate and durable ceasefire. Indonesia strongly urges the unconditional release of hostages, including ASEAN nationals and the detainees. We believe that two-state based on the pre-1967 lines in accordance with international law and relevant UNSC resolution is the solution. Excellencies, colleagues, I appreciate the UK's interest to mainstream the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific in ASEAN-UK cooperation. Indonesia looks forward to the ASEAN-UK statement on connectivity within this framework. For Indonesia, the value of AOIP is not only in the identified areas, but in its strategic value to build bridges and develop trust. Therefore, collaborative and inclusive principles are key to AOIP. All the areas of cooperation under AOIP are vehicles to achieve these strategic goals. Within this context, as with other dialogue partners of ASEAN, UK might want to consider a more general political statement to support the AOIP. Excellencies, colleagues, Myanmar remains a member of ASEAN family. Indonesia is deeply concerned that the situation on the ground remains unstable, leading to prolonged humanitarian crisis. The violence in the Rakhine States few days ago that has claimed many innocent civilian lives and added to the vulnerability of the Rohingya people. Indonesia strongly urges that the authority in Naypyidaw to implement the 5-point consensus in full and start political dialogue to solve the political crisis. Indonesia also counts on the UK to support ASEAN's efforts to solve the Myanmar issue. Lastly, as Indonesia and UK celebrate 75th anniversary of its bilateral relations this year, Indonesia remains committed to develop the partnership between ASEAN and UK and looks forward to work closely with you and your team in Jakarta. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I open the floor to other ASEAN colleagues. Myanmar, you have the floor.
Dear Chair's Excellencies, we share the concerns by ASEAN member states and UK on the recent situations in Myanmar. For the implementation of five-point consensus, Myanmar, being a responsible member of ASEAN, will remain committed to work with the ASEAN Chair Special Envoy, current ASEAN Chair, all ASEAN member states, and the ASEAN Secretary General as the ASEAN Humanitarian Coordinator. Some measures for five-point consensus are difficult to achieve overnight. I would like to seek your kind understanding in this regard. The Special Envoy of the ASEAN Chair, Mr. Anutil Kittikon, paid his first working visit from 10 to 12 January 2024, and had constructive meetings with the relevant stakeholders. Through his interactions, he has been very understanding of the government's efforts to ensure peace and stability of the state and national reconciliation. That was one stand on the strengthening the multi-party democratic problem and the implementation of the five-point consensus, as well as the five-point roadmap adopted by the State Executive Council. The government of Myanmar is now preparing to hold a free election through systematic political plan. Altogether, 47 political parties were registered so far. Moreover, the government invites those who are holding arms to enter to the legal form. In an effort for national reconciliation, the government has granted amnesty to all persons who have come to legal form except to those who committed rape and murder, and pardoned over 85,000 prisoners during the past years. For the inclusive dialogue process, Myanmar is ready to start political dialogue with organizations or groups which abandon the armed insurgency policy. Moreover, the government of Myanmar attaches importance to the humanitarian cause by assuring all available assistance reaches to all people in need without discrimination and timely manner. The government's effort in humanitarian aid deliverance are accompanied by its facilitation in international systems, including cooperative with the Archer Heart Center under the Point 4 of the ASEAN Five-Point Consensus. On 15 August 2003, the meeting between the Deputy Prime Minister and Union Minister of Foreign Affairs and Mr. Martin Griffiths, under Secretary General of Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, the United Nations Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, or UNOCHA, paved the way to strengthen the current cooperation between Myanmar and Sudan, as well as facilitation for provision of humanitarian assistance to the population in need. We have been working together with more than 20 UN agencies in Myanmar, facilitating their business and assets from 2021 to 2023. 60 travel authorizations were granted to WFP, 80 for IGOs, and more than 500 for ICRC in Rakhine State. Many UN agencies and IGOs have maintained a field presence in states and regions across Myanmar. Apart from this, Myanmar participated agreed to work in humanitarian assistance distribution in the border areas in bilateral cooperation with Thailand. Both sides agreed to give Red Cross societies for both countries the leading role in taking frontline operation. Myanmar expressed a readiness to involve representatives from relevant Thai agencies in the Ahar Center to observe the handling and distribution process of the ground. Since as the responsibility of the government to maintain peace and security across the nation, the government is addressing challenges through two approaches: undertaking new and law enforcement measures against perpetrators and inviting the involuntary return to the legal fold. I hope, Excellencies, the co-chairs, we have a better understanding of the situation in Myanmar and the efforts to realize targets set in the 5-point roadmap while also implementing the 5-point consensus and fulfilling the obligations of an ASEAN member in all aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And now I give the floor to Philippines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Co-chairs, Excellencies and colleagues, for the past 79 years, rules-based international order based on the UN system and backwards by international law has provided the general stability, peace and prosperity in the second half of the 20th century that allowed our region and our world to flourish, including the economic miracles in Southeast Asia and South Korea, the post-war revival of Japan, and the rise of China and India. Recently, however, ominous geopolitical developments in Ukraine, the Middle East, the Korean Peninsula, Taiwan Straits, and the South China Sea seem to demonstrate the fragility of international law. They pose serious challenges to the capacity of our global and regional security architecture to manage and resolve tensions and to protect the principles of sovereignty, sovereign rights, and territorial integrity. In ASEAN, the Philippines consider the current situation in the South China Sea our foremost regional security concern, being at the very heart and geographic center of maritime Southeast Asia. It is also widely acknowledged as a potential flashpoint and tinderbox in the region, if not in the world. We therefore welcome UK's statement opposing the destabilizing and coercive actions in the South China Sea, unsafe maneuvers and encounters at sea and in the air, the militarization of disputed features, while emphasizing the importance of all states being able to exercise rights and freedoms, including freedom of navigation in a manner consistent with international law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. We also acknowledge UK's abiding support for the 2016 arbitral award in the South China Sea, which is final and legally binding on the parties. We take exception to the characterization of the tensions in the South China Sea solely as a function of the US-China strategic rivalry. While superpower competition is a perennial reality in international relations, we should not denigrate and deny the indubitably existing and legitimate rights and interests of countries like the Philippines and other claimants in the South China Sea threatened by unilateral and coercive action. Our independent foreign policy compels us to cooperate with other countries on matters where our interests align, to respectfully disagree on areas where our views differ, and to push back when our principles, such as our sovereignty, sovereign rights, and our jurisdiction in the South China Sea are questioned or ignored. On cross-strait relations, the Philippines continues to urge the concerned parties to exercise maximum restraint and to resolve issues through diplomacy and dialogue, and not through force. It is most important that political diplomatic developments are not allowed to disproportionately escalate into violent military incidents. On the political crisis in Myanmar, we welcome and support the appointment of His Excellency Awang Kyokitikon as the Special Envoy of the ASEAN Chair on Myanmar for 2024. We join our ASEAN colleagues in strongly condemning continuing acts of violence, while we urge all parties involved to take concrete action to immediately halt them, avoid any escalation, and create a conducive environment for inclusive national dialogue and the delivery of humanitarian assistance. We encourage engagement with all stakeholders as a path to dialogue and peace, but also insist that all engagements complement and support ASEAN's efforts under the 5-point consensus and be coordinated with the chair for the special envoy. On the situation in the Korean Peninsula, We stand with ASEAN in condemning DPRK's continuing launch of ballistic missiles which unduly provoke tension and undermine economic progress, peace, and stability in the Korean Peninsula and in the Indo-Pacific region. The Philippines has consistently called on the DPRK to comply with its international obligations under relevant UN Security Council resolutions and to commit constructive and peaceful dialogue with the ROK. On the conflict in Ukraine, which soon enters its third year, the Philippines reiterates its call on concerned parties to seek a peaceful and diplomatic solution to the conflict, recalling, among others, the ASEAN Treaty of Amity and Cooperation and the 1982 Manila Declaration on the peaceful settlement of international disputes. Finally, on the situation in the Middle East, the Philippines reiterates its firm support for a two-state solution in harmony with past international agreements and pertinent UN resolutions. The Philippines is therefore deeply concerned about the escalation of the conflict and urges all parties to prioritize dialogue for its peaceful resolution. The safety and security of all civilians is essential, and critical facilities, including humanitarian shelters and hospitals, need to continue to address the humanitarian needs of those affected in a sustained and resolute manner. We also condemn all terrorist acts and join the international community's call for the immediate release of all hostages, including women and children, which include ASEAN citizens, particularly those of the Philippines and Thailand. Thank you, co-chairs and excellencies.
Thank you, Daniel. Excellency Pangpan of Law.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Our world has undergone rapid and complex changes as never before. Armed conflicts, confrontations, strategic competitions, and arms races are escalating tensions. Conflicts in many regions are likely to continue, negatively affecting the world's economic recovery and growth and also sustainable development. Additionally, the development gap, climate change, natural disasters, economic and financial difficulties, and cybercrime, among others, present immediate challenges that require cooperation and collaboration among countries to address them. On particular issues, I want to touch on the situation in Myanmar. The LPDR, as the chair of ASEAN this year, will uphold ASEAN's commitment to assist and facilitate Myanmar in finding a peaceful and durable solution to the current crisis based on Myanmar-led, Myanmar-ruled process and be guided by the 5-point consensus and the principles enshrined in the ASEAN Charter, as well as the ASEAN leaders' review and decision on the implementation of the 5-point consensus adopted in 2022 and 2023. As you are well aware that the Prime Minister of the LPDR, as the chair of ASEAN, has appointed Excellency Amyntiau Titipun, former minister, to the Prime Minister's office as the special envoy of the ASEAN chair, who has actively engaged with ASEAN member states, ASEAN development partners, and other external partners, international organizations, and relevant stakeholders of Myanmar. The special envoy has also met with ambassadors based in Vientiane, including Ambassador Neil Barlow, regularly to share information and also seek some views on how to facilitate the situation in Myanmar. The special envoy will continue to meet with Myanmar stakeholders and also other partners to help facilitate Myanmar's to achieve a comprehensive political resolution to the complex problem in Myanmar. We also will continue to work closely with ASEAN member states on humanitarian assistance to Myanmar people in all areas affected by the conflicts without discrimination. We encourage the UK to consider supporting humanitarian assistance through the ARHA Center in Jakarta to the people of Myanmar. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Now I invite Ambassador Beng.
Thank you very much, my co-chair. I'd like to share the view expressed by colleagues around the table on the recent development, the complex and developments in the political security and geopolitical security environment that we face today. And we are very much concerned that those developments would pose serious challenges to our efforts to maintain peace, stability, and security in the region. And in this regard, Vietnam and ASEAN, and I'm sure our partners as well, consider the South China Sea as an important trade route for the region and the world, and any escalation of tension or miscalculation would pose serious negative impacts to our joint collaboration. Nevertheless, we've witnessed certain destabilizing actions unilaterally and which have violated the international law and UNCLOS. Vietnam, like ASEAN and United States, would encourage all activities and actions to be taken in more responsible manner, and so that they contribute to peace, stability, and security, and safety of maritime navigation and navigation, and so that trade is not disrupted in the South China Sea, so that we can build the South China Sea into a field of peace, stability, cooperation, and development. In this regard, we very much welcome the UK's commitment to support ASEAN in the resolution of disputes peacefully and in accordance with international law and UNCLOS. And we would very much appreciate your support for a development of code of conduct in the South China Sea, which is effective, substantive, and in line with international law and UNCLOS. On Myanmar, we share the view from all that we would continue to support efforts by Myanmar to find a stable, long-term solution to the current situation under the guidance of the Five-Point Consensus, and we support the Chair's Special Envoy from Myanmar in carrying out this work. On Ukraine, Vietnam and ASEAN follow the situation, the developments with serious concern, and we feel that the situation in Ukraine have far and wide impact on peace, stability, and security of the world and the region. And as a country that has gone through a lot of impact due to war, Vietnam understands and the value of peace, stability, and security, and we would join ASEAN's common position in this area to, in particular, with regards to the respect for sovereignty, political independence, and integrity of all countries in accordance with UN Charter and international law. And we certainly would like to see the military actions halted and dialogue will resume to resolve the issue. On the Middle East, we are seriously concerned about the escalating violence in the region, which causes losses of life to people. We encourage all parties to refrain, to commit to ceasefire and stop all hostility actions, violence, so so that we will be able to resume humanitarian assistance to persons in the area. And Vietnam is already supports a two-state solution in the Middle East. So I'd like to end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Bin. I call Dr. Omran. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair Ju. I'm mindful of the time for our meeting. We're supposed to have finished by now. But let me pick up on 2 points under this item. One is, of course, on the situation in Myanmar, which is very close to us, to Malaysia, to ASEAN as a whole. And of course, now we are part of this troika together with Indonesia and Laos. We are committed to working closely between three of us and also in Myanmar. Of course, the objective is quite clear: full and speedy implementation of the 5-point consensus and the return of democracy and peace and stability to Myanmar for prosperity of the people of Myanmar. And of course, for selfish reasons or otherwise, we want to see this resolved before Malaysia's championship in 2025. And on the second point, Co-Chair is about the Israel's war on Gaza. Of course, Malaysia fully subscribes to the statements issued earlier on, particularly the one that was highlighted by DG Chen in his intervention. And of course, I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about this issue at this meeting, because we are talking to our most important dialogue partner as a member of United Nations Security Council, which yield considerable influence in terms of carrying out responsibility as a permanent member of the Council. Of course, there have been a long debate on this issue. We acknowledge the differences that we have, but for the fact that the situation is very critical, very grave. Population of Gaza is facing extinction, either from the direct attack of Israeli defense forces or from starvation. So I think it's crucial for the international community to be led by Security Council in particular to make sure there is immediate end to the conflict by pushing through the permanent ceasefire, immediate and permanent ceasefire. I think there is no point talking about humanitarian ceasefire pause, but what is critical now is to have permanent ceasefire to lead for political process to take place, peace and security in that region. And then, of course, the issue of respect for international law. I think what's happened so far is kind of creating a division in communities around the world. And then, of course, there is a question about consistency in implementation of international law, in particular international humanitarian and human rights law. And of course, there should be no doubt in terms of respect for international law, including decisions of the international judicial system. And we have the important decision of the International Court of Justice in terms of provisional measures that Israel should adopt to end the catastrophic situation faced the Palestinians in Gaza in particular. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Omran. I don't see any more requests for the floor. But Co-Chair, before I give the floor to you for your response, may I also add a few words on this one. We align ourselves with the comment from Indonesia and Malaysia on the situation in the Middle East. Brunei remains gravely concerned over the continued act of violence in the Gaza Strip as the rest of the Muslim world is observing Ramadan. The level of violence in the Gaza Strip continues to increase, and the death toll remains staggeringly high and increasing by day. The recent attack on civilian at aid distribution sites at urgency to ceasefire talk but also underscores the importance of humanitarian aid and of ensuring that international humanitarian law is observed. Therefore, we fully support the humanitarian work of the UNRWA and call on countries that have suspended their funding to reconsider their decision. We are also deeply concerned over the long-standing impunity of the occupying powers' continued international law violation. Therefore, we welcome the decision of the International Court of Justice on 26 January 2024 and call on the international community to hold the occupying power accountable to their actions. Brunei Darussalam remains resolute to its solidarity with the Palestinians in their struggle for peace, freedom, and inalienable rights to self-determination, and reaffirms its full support to the creation of a fully independent and sovereign state of Palestine based on the pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Excellencies and colleagues, regardless of whether the geopolitical conflicts are occurring in Europe, the Middle East, or in the Indo-Pacific region, the international community needs to act with reason and integrity to be consistent with the messaging of upholding international law and to respect the fundamental purposes and principles of the UN Charter. It is equally important to also avoid double standards. With that, I give the floor to your co-chair for your response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair, and many thanks to the other speakers. And I think a number of speakers on this set of issues speaks to the importance which we all attach to the challenges which are facing our world today. By way of general introduction on this issue, I talked earlier about our integrated review, Refresh. The title of that was Responding to a More Contested and Volatile World. And I think that title rings very true in light of all of the challenges which we've been talking about in this session. We're perhaps experiencing greater levels of instability and of contestation than we have for several decades. And that includes not just the traditional threats with which we're familiar, but some of the new and evolving threats which we see and we've discussed under other pillars. And if that's so, then I go back to the theme that I've mentioned so often in my interventions, which is that the only way of tackling these threats is through building long-lasting and deep partnerships between those states who believe that the answer to the challenges that we face is through the international rule of law, through multilateral systems, and through collaboration on the key issues of the day. And I think those themes have come through in a number of the interventions which I've heard today. The UK remains very committed to the establishment and the maintenance of the international rule of law. We believe that the multilateral system, which has served us so well for so long, remains critical to the resolution of the challenges that we face. And even when we disagree on issues, as we will, we need to resolve them through the application of the rule of law and through the multilateral system, and we remain committed to doing so. Last year in this forum, my predecessor, Ms. Jenny Bates, underlined that the UK has a distinct and national perspective on Southeast Asia and the broader Indo-Pacific region as an independent foreign policy and security actor. We will continue to take our own national positions on the big strategic issues, as we did, for example, through the former Foreign Secretary James Cleverly's speech last year on our approach to China, when he set out 3 pillars to our approach: to protect, to align, and to engage. Those remain the pillars of our approach to China. I think it sets out quite a distinct approach to China, and it highlights how we will engage with all of our partners on their terms and on ours, to understand their perspectives and to make sure that our perspective is shared in turn. We will, of course, continue to work with our traditional partners and allies, which is why our Foreign Secretary is not only in Thailand this week, but also in Australia, But we also need and want to seek out alternative views and to form our own judgments, as the Prime Minister did last year, for example, when he convened the AI Safety Summit, which I mentioned, and ensured that China was invited to that summit as an absolutely critical actor in the area of AI. So we will continue to take that approach, which works for us and we hope works for our partners. And I set that out as background to some of the specific issues that I will now address, which have come up in what I thought was very rich and useful set of interventions previously. First of all, on Myanmar, I mentioned in my earlier intervention the joint statement which our Foreign Secretary contributed to on the 31st of January, but given the more in-depth points which have been made, allow me to set out a few more points. As that statement set out, we call on the SAC to change their course and to meaningfully engage with the 5-point consensus. And we very much support those speakers who put the 5-point consensus and ASEAN's leadership at the heart of the resolution of the challenges which we face in Myanmar. Violence against civilians, which has become widespread, must cease. Full humanitarian access must be allowed, and there must be space for inclusive dialogue with all stakeholders. We're deeply concerned about the worsening crisis and the lack of meaningful progress towards implementation of the 5-point consensus. We share the views of those who highlighted the humanitarian crisis. We ourselves have provided over £125 million in humanitarian and development assistance since the February 2021 coup, and we emphasise that unobstructed humanitarian access must be allowed in order to reach Myanmar's most vulnerable. As I said, we are committed to supporting ASEAN leadership in addressing this crisis through the 5-point consensus and the welcome appointment of the Chair's Special Envoy. This will work well along with the appointment of the future UN Special Envoy and along with neighbouring countries who have a particular role and responsibility in this context. As the UN Security Council's penholder on Myanmar, the UK will continue to use our status to support ASEAN's efforts. Our overarching hope is to see peace and stability return to Myanmar so that the people of Myanmar can flourish in a free and inclusive society. Let me turn to other issues now, and there was concerns were raised over stability on the Korean Peninsula. I just want to say briefly that we very much share those concerns. The DPRK continues to break the UN Security Council's resolutions. It did so throughout 2023, including through its latest ICBM test on the 18th of December, and its self-declared solid-fueled hypersonic intermediate range missile on the 14th of January. We condemn those launches, which we think are destabilising and risk undermining the prospects for successful negotiations and peace on the Korean Peninsula. And we call on North Korea to engage in meaningful diplomacy and accept the offers of dialogue which it has had from the US, from Japan, and from the Republic of Korea, and to take concrete steps towards complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization. Let me turn to Israel-Gaza, and I recognise and share the very deep and strong feelings which are evoked by the very challenging situation which was caused by Hamas's barbaric attacks on the 7th of October. And let me express my condolences to those ASEAN member states whose nationals were caught up in those attacks on the 7th of October, and to add my voice to those calling for the unconditional release of all hostages in this area. I also share the horror which others feel at the humanitarian situation in Gaza currently. We, as the UK, have taken every opportunity to press Israel to relieve humanitarian suffering, to allow full access for humanitarian assistance and to fulfill its responsibilities in the Gaza Strip. We support calls for an immediate humanitarian pause and for that to lead, without a resumption of fighting, to a sustainable ceasefire. In the long run, our Foreign Secretary has been very clear that the only viable long-term solution is a two-state solution, as has been described, and he has spoken, I think, more openly than perhaps we have in the pre-crisis era about the UK's focus on recognition of a Palestinian state when the time is right, and that does not need to be the end of the process, but can be done at the point where it's most helpful to the resolution that we all want to see. On UNRWA, we certainly recognise the concerns which have been raised, and the fact that UNRWA has a unique set of capabilities for the delivery of humanitarian assistance across not only Gaza but in the West Bank also. We were very pleased that the UN Secretary General instituted an immediate investigation into the concerns that were raised, the very deep concerns which were raised, and we look forward to the interim report from Ms. Colonna, which I think will issue either today or tomorrow, and on that basis we will look again at our suspension. I would stress in the meantime that we have not paused our humanitarian assistance. We continue to deliver humanitarian assistance through other mechanisms, including the World Food Programme. We have tripled our assistance to Gaza and the West Bank over the last year since the crisis, and will continue to urge Israel to allow humanitarian access and to fulfill its other responsibilities. If I may turn to Russia and Ukraine, we remain deeply concerned by the situation in Ukraine. Russia's attack on Ukraine was not only an unprovoked, premeditated and unlawful attack on a fellow UN member state, it was a direct challenge to the UN Charter and to the principles of territorial integrity and sovereignty, which are so important to all of us around this set of tables. And that is why we continue to give our absolute support to Ukraine in pushing back against those violations of international law and the UN Charter. Now is the time to double down on our support for Ukraine, and we intend to do so. And that's not only because it's right to support Ukraine, it's because if Russia is successful in undermining the very basis of the international system, which is respect for other countries' borders and for territorial integrity, I think that will have a very destabilising effect on the sort of rules-based system which we have discussed so extensively today, and which all of us rely on for the sort of thriving economies and societies which we want to see. So if we allow Russia to lay waste to that stability and to that system, I think we risk storing up some very grave consequences for ourselves in the future. Just briefly, and conscious of Malaysia's comment on time, apologies if I'm taking more of it. On cross-strait stability, I very much share the concerns that were expressed about the risks in that space. We continue to believe that any unilateral efforts to change the status quo would be deeply destabilising, and we are increasingly concerned also about the consequences for the global economy should peace and stability in that region fail for any reason. So we will continue to work in support of those efforts and of a peaceful resolution of any concerns. Finally, let me turn to the South China Sea, where I set out the UK's general position earlier, but in light of the numerous comments in this area, let me say again that we very much welcome ASEAN's focus on this area, and in particular the emphasis on UNCLOS and on international law as the only viable and acceptable basis for the resolution of disputes in this area. We don't take a position on those disputes, but we do believe, as ASEAN member states do, that international law must be the basis for resolution of those. We want to see an end to destabilising activity in the region, and we hope that the work towards a code of conduct respecting all of the rights implicated in that area, including those of third parties, we hope that those negotiations can come to a conclusion very rapidly. I apologise, I haven't addressed all of the very rich points that were raised. Some of them I addressed earlier, such as the Southeast Asia nuclear weapons-free zone. Others, many apologies, I'm happy to discuss bilaterally if that's helpful. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you, Excellency. Now we move on to Agenda 7, which is the upcoming ASEAN-UK meeting. I invite Excellency Tong Pan to brief us on the preparation for the ASEAN Post-Ministerial Conference with the UK. Excellency, you have the floor.
Co-chairs, the North India plans to convene the ASEAN Ministerial Meeting, PMC +1 and ARF, and other related meetings on 21st to 27th of July in Vientiane. The ASEAN Post-Ministerial Conference with +1 with the United Kingdom is tentatively to be held on 26th of July, to be followed by the ASEAN Regional Forum on 27th of July. We look forward to welcoming Honorable Foreign Secretary David Cameron to Vientiane in July. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Co-Chair, you want to respond?
Thank you, Co-Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency, for those additional details. Let me say that the Foreign Secretary is very much looking forward to visiting Vientiane for the next ASEAN-UK Post-Ministerial Conference, at which, as we've discussed, we hope to publish our very first Foreign Minister's level statement focusing on connectivity as a priority theme for the Laos Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Now I invite Vietnam to brief us on the dates and venue of the fourth ASEAN-UK Summit. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. It's too early yet. Let's confirm that Vietnam is ready to host the fourth, not mistaken, ASEAN-UK Senior Officials meeting, and we plan to host the meeting, hopefully the first quarter or early second quarter of 2025. So we will communicate with all the UK as well as member states to fix the date. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, Ambassador. You want to respond? No? Colleague, I think this marks the end. Oh, sorry, Co-Chair.
If I may very briefly, just to express my thanks to Vietnam for their offer to host. We recognise it is a bit early even for planners such as ourselves, and we look forward to being in close touch about the details in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Sorry, we're so excited to go to Vietnam, I guess. This marks the end of my turn to Co-Chair, so I will now hand over back to you to continue with the remaining agenda item. Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Next on our agenda is item 8, which is other matters. Let me invite any colleague with additional items to raise at this point. Does not seem to be the case. Then I will move immediately to item 9, which is closing remarks, and allow me to invite Timor-Leste to invite general remarks, followed by Brunei Salam. Timor-Leste, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair, Excellency Co-Chairs, Excellency ASEAN some leaders and representative of ASEAN Secretariat, dear colleagues, very good afternoon to all of us. At the outset, I would also like to join to express our sincere appreciation to the government of the United Kingdom for the warm welcome and hospitality extended to Timor-Leste and implementation, and commend the excellent arrangement for this meeting. I'd also like to thank ASEAN member states, especially to Brunei, as the country coordinator for the United Kingdom for the invitation extended to Timor-Leste to participate in this meeting as an observer. I appreciate the opportunity to learn about the progress in the implementation of the Plan of Action to implement the ASEAN-UK Dialogue Partnership period 2022-2026 across the three community pillars, as well as a discussion on the future direction of the ASEAN-UK relations in the context of development, regional and international issues. Timor-Leste very much look forward to becoming a full member of ASEAN and to be able to provide our meaningful contribution to this very important initiative. Timor-Leste has been enjoying a friendly bilateral relationship with the United Kingdom and the generous support provided to Timor-Leste development through various initiatives on rural and community development and the provision of scholarship for Timorese students, among many others, which have contributed significantly to our socioeconomic development over the past decades. As mentioned by Co-Chair Ishmael Jenkins on the recent visit of Minister of State for the Pacific, the Right Honorable Henry Trevelyan, to Timor-Leste, and her announcement of the United Kingdom's intention to reopen a permanent diplomatic mission in Timor-Leste stand as a testament to the deepening ties, strengthening people-to-people relations, and shared commitment to cooperation in various areas, including to support Timor-Leste in our regional integration agenda. The United Kingdom's ongoing support for Timor-Leste economic endeavors, particularly in the context of our accession to ASEAN, has strengthened further our bilateral relations and effectively prepared Timor-Leste to deepen our engagement in the ASEAN trading system. On the implementation of the roadmap, we thank with the strong support of the ASEAN member states, the United Kingdom, and other external and dialogue partners, Timor-Leste has made encouraging progress in our journey to become a full member of ASEAN. As of now, significant progress has been made in harmonizing our policy and legal frameworks under the relevant ASEAN legal instruments across the three community pillars, resulting in a set of policies and regulatory frameworks that are relatively consistent with ASEAN commitments. We have been and will continue working interministerially and across sectors, including our private sectors, in close collaboration with ASEAN Secretariat, ASEAN member states, and ASEAN dialogue partners and external partners, including the United Kingdom, to ensure our readiness to ratify ASEAN legal instruments as required in the ASEAN development. Ensuring sustainable domestic reforms and further strengthening resources capacity to meet regional and international commitments are our ongoing and long-term task. As we continue to advance our shared goals of economic prosperity and regional integration, we look forward to further deepening and diversifying our partnership with the United Kingdom. In conclusion, Timor-Leste would like to reaffirm its commitment to strengthening these ties with ASEAN member states and the United Kingdom in our endeavor towards the full membership as the 11th member of ASEAN. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. And before I pass the floor to Brunei Darussalam, thank you for those kind words and recommit to our relationship as the 11th dialogue partner with the future 11th member state. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Excellency. As we have come to the end of our meeting, I would like to thank you for your excellent co-chairmanship, and to my ASEAN colleagues for your active participation and contribution. Our discussion has been very rich and fruitful, and this meeting is yet another step to help advance our partnership. We agree that there is much potential for us to further deepen our cooperation, and we have identified a number of ways where we can work together. We have also agreed to pass the CR and the UK mission to ASEAN to finalize the ASEAN-UK Statement on Connectivity for Adoption. On this, I would like to seek everyone's support and cooperation in ensuring that we finalize the document in time for the ASEAN PMC in July. Co-chair, excellencies, and distinguished delegates, as this is my last song that I will be co-chairing with the UK, I wish to take this opportunity to express my deep appreciation to His Excellency Owen Jenkins, your predecessor, His Excellency Jenny Bates, and the UK government and my fellow ASEAN colleagues from the strong support and kind of cooperation that you have extended to Brunei Darussalam as country coordinator over the past 3 years. I'm particularly grateful that Brunei is the first ASEAN country coordinator for the UK, and through our close collaboration, we have accomplished a number of projects and collaboration. I'm confident that our partnership will continue to grow under Vietnam country coordinatorship. So in conclusion, let me reiterate ASEAN commitment to continue working closely with the UK to ensure our relation will remain strong and enduring. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Let me first of all respond more fully to Timor-Leste. We were delighted to host His Excellency the President here in London and to have very fruitful discussions on future collaboration, some of which, as you noted, were then announced during our Minister for the Asia-Pacific's visit to Dili very recently. Let me also congratulate Timor-Leste on their success in their application to join the WTO, which I think is a very important step in establishing a shared set of ground rules for the sort of trade and economic relationship which we would like to have with Timor-Leste bilaterally, but as an ASEAN member state also. And we look forward to deepening that collaboration, including through our new diplomatic mission. Co-chair, colleagues and partners, in closing, let me once again take the fifth moment to thank Brunei and still heartfelt for their huge collaboration both today as my fellow co-chair in chairing this meeting and over the last three years, and to reinforce our deep gratitude for being the UK's first ASEAN country coordinator. We very much look forward to working with Vietnam in the coming years to deepen the partnership. And that partnership will be enriched by the sort of discussion that we've had today. I thought that it was a very positive and very open discussion where there were disagreements, we didn't shy away from them, and where there were things we could do together, we identified them and agreed to move forward. So thank you for all of your reflections, for your views, and for your advice to a very new senior official in the UK chair. While there is always more that we can do to take the relationship forward and to improve it, I hope that one thing that today's meeting has shown is that we have come a long way together in 3 years. That I think, I say proudly, that the list of achievements which we highlighted and the discussion at the recent JCC is a list that's a dialogue partner with decades rather than 3 years of experience could be proud to put its name to. That's only been possible because of the openness and support which we've had from all ASEAN member states and from the Secretariat. So let me express my deep thanks for that. And as it says on your folders, this is a thriving partnership. I look forward to deepening it over the current years. Thank you very much. Co-chair, with your permission, I will declare the meeting closed and invite everybody to go and have a slightly delayed lunch. We promised to have all of you out of here by 2, I'm afraid. Please do join me for some refreshments after a productive morning. Thank you very much.